I titled today's conversation Mind Map From Zero to 100,000 in 1 month. Do this. So, I have shared before on this channel that when I started my other YouTube channel, not this one here, my other one, which I started in 2013, which I built to over 400,000 subscribers organically. Within the first year of that YouTube channel, from the YouTube channel, I generated over $100,000 in business. And that was primarily through one client. And then over the years, due to the compounding effect and what we're going to talk about here, that 100,000 went on to a few hundred thousand, over $1 million plus, 2 million, 3 million, etc., as a result of what I'm going to share with you in this video. So essentially, if you put out social media content, let's say you put videos out on YouTube or on Instagram or on TikTok, although we are interested in acquiring a lot of clients perhaps, or a lot of people that buy our programs, it is also important to acknowledge that one client may be enough to generate a significant amount of business, a significant amount of revenue. And not just in the front end or over the course of, let's say, a few months, but ongoing for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road. I had a friend that we used to go out back in the days. We were in our early 20s at the time, and he was 21 years old, my friend, and also he had a friend that was 21 at that time. And my friend's friend had a BMW Z4, and he also had a condo that was paid off. And I asked my friend, I said, what does he do? And he said, him and his dad have a tool and die business, and they have one client. They have a workshop at the back of their property, and they have one client that brings them all these deals. And they've been doing this for many years now. And this was the first time I heard about how with one client you can have a substantial business, successful business that is providing for the family in a very lavish way. So I said, there's something to this. What is going on here? And so over the years, I became very fascinated by it. And then I found that when I had my IT business from 2009 to 13, there is no limit to how much we can value the relationships that we have. And practically speaking, the relationships that we have, and also ourselves, we have physical, digital, and intangible assets. We also have relationships. We also have opportunities. Opportunities could be on the revenue enhancing side, opportunities for generating more prospects, more leads, client acquisition, ongoing business from existing clients. That's at a high level. But we also have access to relationships. We also have access to the assets, and they can be, as mentioned, physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets that our relationships have access to. And that we can actually combine the physical, digital, intangible assets that we have, the physical, digital, intangible assets that they have access to facilitate deals that can bring in more prospects, leads, that can also acquire clients at a higher conversion point, because then what would happen, practically speaking, is we have more offers, whether it be our own offers or their offers where we can get a cut out of it. When we're doing our sales calls or client acquisition conversations, which I call exploratory conversations, we can essentially convert more. And then for our clients and their clients, we can actually facilitate more business. So what this proves is that you are right now standing on your own acres of diamonds. There's a wonderful book called Acres of Diamonds by Russell Conwell. And it brings awareness to the fact that each of us are right now standing on our own acres of diamonds. So, how I was able to do this and how you could do it as well, I'm articulating in this video, is I was able to discover a relationship with one client that has access to relationships, opportunities, assets. Assets can include physical, which can include event spaces, real estate, physical assets, and also digital assets, whether it be tools, whether it be software, whether it be programs, whether it be whatever digital access that they have to assets, whatever assets that are digital based, and also intangible. Intangible can be looked at as knowledge, expertise, case studies, stories. One client that has powerful access to relationships, opportunities, and assets. He was based out of California, and he initially brought me in to do some process consulting with a little bit of IT. Remember, I was transitioning from my IT business in 2013, so it was mostly process and optimization in that area. So essentially, management consulting. Brought me in to his seafood business, but he was also involved with a number of different businesses. He also had relationships with business owners. And those relationships had access to relationships, they had access to assets, and they had access to opportunities. Opportunities for increasing revenue, opportunities where I could provide consulting to optimize their operations, their innovations, their sales, their marketing, their leadership, their finance, etc. All of this from one client by valuing that I am, like they are, standing on their own acres of diamonds. And looking at it through this lens here, which again, I had learned this while I was building my IT business. So having acquired that experience, it was easier for me to be very focused when I started my YouTube channel and spot this opportunity, which happened to be mutually beneficial. So it wasn't just this, I'm going to go and find a client who has access and get out of it. It is bringing to them as well assets, physical, digital, intangible relationships and opportunities, so that both of us can grow. And as the referrals were made, whoever I was connected with continued to grow as well. So this is what you can do. Very focused. Now, I like to segment this in a very practical way. Number one, our goal is to engage in ongoing business with that client. So you acquire one client that has access. This is where it is helpful to vet the prospects and the leads so that if you move into a client relationship with them and you would nurture them in this way, that they do meet the criteria of a business or an individual that does have access to physical, digital, intangible, and it could be one or a few or combination of these that can be leveraged and can be combined in creative ways to move forward with opportunities for both of you to benefit greatly. So practical example from that relationship was he brought me in to consult in his seafood business, but then I also got to speak at his mastermind. He runs a business mastermind. And when I spoke at the business mastermind, I acquired some clients. So there he has access to a mastermind that has access to people who are business owners that can benefit from what I was offering at that time, which was consulting services. So what did I do in the mastermind? I shared my knowledge, expertise, my reference experience from building my IT business in a way that is relatable to the individuals within the group there, in a way that would inspire them to reach out to me and say, we would like you, or I would like you. If they were a team, then it would be we. If it was just them by themselves and they were solo entrepreneurs, they would say, I would like you to do this for my business. This is what you're talking about here, which you did in your IT business. I would like you to do this for my business. And I said, sure. Let's do a monthly retainer or a consulting fee or a consulting fee plus percentage on profit on the revenue that I bring in, etc. So he had access to relationships. Not only did I provide the consulting services for his company, he was involved with other businesses. So we worked out deals in those other businesses, which added more revenue from the client that I got from YouTube. Not only that, I got to speak at his mastermind, and then I acquired clients from there, and then I started getting referrals from them. And this continued. So what really happened then? As I was going through this strategy, which is what we're talking about here, which is really one client with access, inspired, we could say, largely through my friend in that story, and exploring how is it that a business can succeed tremendously with just a few clients. So while you can build a business with a lot of clients, you can actually build a successful business with a few or even one client, provided that you structure everything in a way that is mutually beneficial, because what you're actually doing is you're growing that client and they're giving you a cut of the revenue, or from their growth, they're actually then generating more opportunities, which you then discover, which could be optimization or consulting and coaching or training and facilitation in the areas of innovation, sales, marketing, operations, finance, leadership. And you're going in there and providing these services. It could be done by you services, as in you could train, facilitate, coach, and consult, and they implement. Done with you, it could be a combination of coaching and consulting, training and facilitation, plus you do some hands-on implementation with them, which is what I did with the client. Or it could be done for you services, which is what I also offered this client here at a particular point. Again, not necessarily all these things were done in the first part that generated the 100,000, but over the course, this has generated multiples of hundreds of thousands of dollars and then eventually millions. And I also did done for you services, where I would bring in teams or individuals to do particular services for the clients that he had referred me to. So that is how we did it. That is how you could do it as well. And although maybe in the earlier stages, this might seem like a lot of things, what happens is, as you go about business in this kind of way, with this way of thinking, which is very clear way of thinking, and it's based on the acres of diamonds way of looking at reality. And diamonds, practically speaking, can be looked at as assets, relationships, opportunities. Assets can be physical assets, digital assets, intangible. Relationships can be vendors, clients, referral partners, mastermind partners. You have access to relationships, they have access to relationships. What are ways that we can combine our assets and relationships together to move forward with particular opportunities that are already there, or we could discover new opportunities? And generally, I recommend more on the revenue enhancing side, which is generally more so on prospecting, lead generation, client acquisition, and ongoing business from existing clients. So let's bring this into focus now and say ongoing business with that client. What are some things that I did with the one client? Not just provide the consulting service. What are things that I did with the client that added to that $100,000 and beyond? Well, I offered a premium offer where you could do this as well. Move them into a deeper or higher tier program. So we started off with let's look at some processes in your business. Let's optimize them. And once we optimize them, I said, let's look at the other businesses that you're involved with. And then we worked out a monthly retainer fee. It was actually 2 checks delivered to me. And what we would do is we would do 1 or 2 calls a week, some implementation, working with the team, etc. And I bundled it all into that fee. It was actually the fee that he had offered me. And that was a premium offer that went beyond what my initial offering was, which was a block of time. So let's say as a consultant or a coach, you offer 10 hours block time. They benefit greatly from what you provided them. What you can then do is say, well, we could do a 6 months deal together where we can work together in optimizing the various areas of your business. And we can focus, let's say, more on the revenue enhancing side. So let's put in some of these lead generating initiatives that we talked about. You have the assets, you have the digital assets, as in they have the software. They already have ClickFunnels, they may have Aweber, they have Infusionsoft, whatever. They have the intangible assets. They have their knowledge, their expertise, their case studies, their reference experience. They have a physical asset, as in their office space. We could fly down there and work together. So we could take these intangible assets and we can turn this into a business funnel and run some ads to it, or leverage your social media or existing audience that you have in your mastermind or your referral partners, and we can bring awareness to your intangible assets. And this we can roll out over the scope of 6 months to a year. Here's the fee. The fee is whatever. It could be $24,000, $25,000, $50,000 for a year, broken down into 6 months. We could say, let's commit for, if it's $50,000, let's do $25,000. We can actually break that down and offer a deal. Instead of $25,000, we could do it for $20,000. And you can get into the nuances and then break it down into, let's say, if they didn't want to pay up front the $25,000 or the $50,000, you can incentivize them and say, if they pay up front $25,000 or $50,000, you'll knock off maybe 10%, 20% or something like that, provided that you can still be profitable with your numbers. And then even consider, if you're doing something more on the revenue side, lead generation, client acquisition, let's say client acquisition and ongoing business with existing clients, you may consider a percentage on profit or revenue split. Ideally a percentage on profit, because then what happens is if you do a revenue split and they don't get the kind of margins they're looking for, but you get good margins out of it, they might not want to move forward with the deal ongoing. But if you do percentage on profit, then it's essentially, finally, after all expenses, everything said and done, this is how much we have net. I take maybe 25% or 30% or whatever from that. So the consulting fee and then the percentage on profit, or sometimes people do it with just percentage on profit, but it can be done with monthly retainer agreement. You can also offer maintenance and optimization packages. And this can be done in things like, okay, we put these kinds of things in place. The systems are running. Everything is working. Let's do something where we look at what we're running on an ongoing basis and we do some checks, we do some tweaks, we propose based on what we see as far as the lead flow goes. Or let's say what I did was I looked at the expenses. We looked at their expenses and we reduced their expenses. They were buying a whole bunch of software and investing in areas where they weren't actually utilizing whatever it is that they were investing in, monthly subscriptions. So we canceled those. And so then what they had was higher net earnings. But they had a habit of then going up and signing up for additional products and services. And let's say if it's a small business, it might not be considerable, but if it's a large business and there's a number of people involved with decision making and signing up for software services, etc., that could add up as monthly expenses. So we put something in place where every few months we'll check, or once a month we'll look at the statements and we'll see how we could refine further, something like that. You can design a results-based continuation program to help them reach the next milestone. You could say, okay, over the course of the year, we have all these things that we can put in place. Yet we recommend starting with optimizing your social media presence so that it has an opt-in form, and then people can join your mailing list through that opt-in form. And there are a series of emails that go out to them. Let's say 4 or 5 emails that add value, and you do weekly emails every time you release your videos, and then once or twice a week you make an offer. Let's put that in place. Is that something that you'd like to put in place which can generate more leads and clients? They say yes. So we put that in place. Let's say to get that in place, it takes a month. Then we say, okay, well, that's phase 1. Phase 2 is we optimize this over the next 3 or 4 months, and we make tweaks. We make tweaks to your landing page. We make tweaks to the copy on the landing page, your lead magnets, the offers that you make, the pricing, and then also we'll put things in place to engage in ongoing business from those clients. Again, this is something that we're creating for one client and one business to offer so that they can generate more business and, as mentioned, engage in ongoing business from existing clients. So let's say they acquire these clients for programs or products or services, and the clients benefit greatly from these products or services. We say, well, what about ongoing business from these existing clients? We can have upgrades, credit forward into programs. We could offer them additional products and services since they've already benefited, but there's more areas that have now opened up as opportunities. Like, for example, with this particular client, the opportunity one was to get this lead generation system in place with emails going out, email sequence, and then opportunity two then opened up, which is to optimize, and then opportunity three opened up, which is to say, okay, from the clients that bought, how can we then create more offers? So this is where the existing relationships that they have, the existing relationships that we have, the physical, digital, intangible assets that we have, that they have, and their relationship with whoever they have relationship with, they have as well. And what I mean by this very specifically is, let's say what happens is you have a business that is offering fitness services. So they acquire clients that want fitness coaching. So you have fitness coaching clients. Now, that was the offer. They acquire clients, and then we optimize. We say, okay, not only can we optimize the conversion, how many leads we get, how many clients we acquire, we can tweak the pricing so it's more profitable. But what else do these fitness clients benefit from? Well, maybe they benefit from particular supplements. Maybe they benefit from having access to particular retreats. But you don't do the retreats. You don't do these supplements. So we go within their existing network and we say, okay, we found this need for supplements. We found this need for retreats and getaways that are fitness themed, let's say. And we do find that some of these individuals that they know offer these supplements, and they're great supplements. So then we approach them and then we work out a deal. We say, okay, as part of our email sequence or with our existing clients, we can start recommending these supplements, or we could joint venture and do these retreats together. I won't run the retreats, but I might speak at the retreats. But that's very valuable for my clients because they do want to hang out, but I don't want to facilitate the workshop events and the workouts at the event or whatever is involved. You can do it, and you're masterful at it. So now they've added an additional revenue stream, two actually, if we factor both supplements and the retreats. They now added two additional revenue streams, and they're tapping into the opportunities that are available for their existing clients. So this is why when we think like this, very clearly like this, we can see how one client with access, your access, their access opportunities can result in a substantial amount of business. When we're valuing that asset is also categorized as physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets. Your relationships, their relationships, your opportunities, their opportunities. We're looking at it from this lens. You can, if you would like, take this over to ChatGPT and have an exploratory conversation with ChatGPT in relation to how we're talking about right here to discover what these opportunities are. This is what I do in businesses as well, is I go in and I have these kinds of conversations with them and mastermind with them to uncover what are these assets, these physical assets, digital assets, these intangible assets that we can get more yield from, that we can leverage in different ways, that we can combine in creative ways with our relationship partners. What are the relationships that we have right now that we can apply this with? And what are the opportunities? What are the different prospecting opportunities, lead generation opportunities, client acquisition opportunities, ongoing business from existing client opportunities that we have? And that's how I came up with these kinds of things. Another one is train their team. So just as he ran this seafood company, he had members on his team where we put software solutions in place and operational efficiencies in place, but their team might not benefit from this unless we train them in a particular way that is cohesive and integrated with their existing processes. And that became an opportunity as well. That became a service that was offered. Done for them services, as mentioned, that I brought in one individual, and actually sometimes a firm with a few individuals, to implement solutions on the operational side, on the technology side. And as mentioned, I had an IT business from 2009 to 13. I transitioned away from it. But at times, I had contacts from when I had my IT business who would do the IT stuff. I would bring them in and they would do the work. They would deliver on it. They would implement it. And I would take a percentage of it. And everyone benefited greatly. So from one client, you see all these opportunities that emerge. And if you think this way with one client, you start to think this way with your other clients as well. And one doesn't have to do this with every client. You find that you have so many opportunities. When we look at it from the scope of assets, relationships, and opportunities, you find so many opportunities that you could leverage those and combine them. We've discussed many ways thus far. Combine them to engage in ongoing business from existing clients. And in this regard, I was sharing about what I did with this one client, which contributed to the 100,000 and the millions that followed. Another thing that I did that resulted in that 100,000 and the millions that followed inevitably was referrals. So now the client is working with me and they're having this wonderful experience, and they have never had this kind of experience with any service provider before. He has shared with me. And we're going very deep and we're having a lot of fun. And all these opportunities are emerging, and his referrals are benefiting as well, as in his relationships are benefiting. People that he connected me with and his mastermind were benefiting. Everyone was benefiting. It just naturally resulted in referrals. At again, one point, I think I shared this about my IT business with my accountant. It got to a point where I mentioned to her that we were getting so many referrals. I said to her, we don't have the infrastructure in place to support these referrals. So referrals is a great way to build your business. One of the ways that you can get referrals, what I found to be the best way to get referrals, is to deliver this kind of world-class, exceptional service, such as in a way that I shared, which I found most consultants weren't doing. And so what he would do is say, you got to call Joseph. Just talk to Joseph. And then I would put some degree of what we did together with them. Again, as mentioned, you can keep going and build your business substantially if you price everything in a way that allows you to hit your numbers, and then also you value the acres of diamonds, value the assets, the digital, physical, intangible assets, the relationships and opportunities that exist within the scope of the referrals, then you could just continuously build your consulting practice. It got to a point where it was literally morning till night. That's how many deals I was getting and how many opportunities. And I was moving forward and everything was scaling. And at a particular point, I said, okay, I'm going to really reduce it. And it was running pretty lean on autopilot, kind of 4-hour work week style, so much so that in 2017, I went to Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And for 2 weeks, I didn't really do anything because everything was being run in the background. But that's what I talk about on my other channel when I made flow a priority. So referrals are a natural result of providing exceptional service, world-class service, wonderful service for your clients. It's just a natural result. And if you're a consultant, coach, trainer, facilitator, and you're going about it this way, high likelihood we see these kinds of referrals happen easier and easier and easier because they want their friends, their business partners, their relationships in business to also get this kind of benefit that you have provided. Number 3, creative orchestration of combining assets, relationships, and opportunities, yours, theirs, and those of their network, the relationships that they have access to generate more leads, acquire more clients, and form partnerships that lead to ongoing business with your clients, their clients, and their clients' relationships. This right here, in a nutshell, is how to do it. If you value this part right here, so I'm going to say it again: creative orchestration of combining assets, relationships, and opportunities, yours, theirs, and those of their network, to generate more leads, acquire more clients, and form partnerships that lead to ongoing business with your clients, and their clients' relationships. This is how you grow exponentially, quite rapidly. And if this seems very challenging, I didn't get like this overnight. You get there with practice. I've been an entrepreneur full time since 2009. Over the course, I built 3 successful businesses. One in IT from 2009 to 13. 2013, I started my YouTube channel, grew that to 400,000 plus subscribers organically, implemented these things to make millions of dollars through my YouTube channel, and also a consulting practice where I implemented this for myself and my clients. And now I'm sharing it with you so that you too can benefit greatly. If I saw this video when I first started out with entrepreneurship, I would be pleasantly surprised, because the way I'm articulating it here is I'm articulating it in a very simplified way, yet I would tell myself, I'm making this video, you could say, for that version of myself from 2009. I would say exactly what I'm going to say to you right now. You don't have to do all of this at once. You could start with this, consider it, and then you see that it's a natural way, it's a very flow-based way. You'll naturally integrate it, and before you know it, you're doing all kinds of wonderful things. So what are some examples of this that I just mentioned? Again, creative orchestration of combining assets, relationships, and opportunities, yours, theirs, and those of their network, to generate more leads, acquire more clients, and form partnerships that lead to ongoing business with your clients, and their relationships, their client relationships, by combining assets, physical, digital, intangible relationships, and moving forward with them in a precise, high leverage, highest and best yield, 80-20 principle, easiest, accessible, 20% opportunities. You can fraction that down, the 80-20 of the 80-20 that you can move forward with. Those are the opportunities. You don't have to do all of them. Just the ones I recommend that are easiest, fun, and joyous. How can you do it? Here are some examples. Bundle your offer with their software or product and create a hybrid solution. So aside from this, I did another deal with Iris Reading and a company called Ace Reader. Ace Reader is a speed reading software. And I had a website called speedreadingzone.com. I met Bernie, who's the founder of Ace Reader, through that website. I know Paul, who's the founder of Iris Reading, and I used to teach speed reading workshops back in the days on behalf of them. We've done a number of deals together, which are like this. Again, Paul and I had a great relationship as well. We had many business deals together. Many millions of dollars were generated as a result of that relationship. They contacted me, Ace Reader, and they said, would you like to promote our software? And I was promoting Iris Reading. So I said, let's jump on a 3-way call. And we created a number of opportunities. On my list, I promoted both Ace Reader and Iris Reading. Iris Reading, they had upsell for Ace Reader after you bought the program. Ace Reader had an upsell for Iris Reading courses after you bought Ace Reader. So bundles and upsells started to happen. There were some bundle offers. At a particular point, Iris Reading was offering a branded version of Ace Reader, Ace Reader, for every student that took the in-person workshops. So that was a bundle. And so that was very compelling. And that resulted in more client acquisition because you're adding more to the deal. The offer is a lot sweeter now. And also, it resulted in ongoing business from existing clients, because when the email went out of now there's this partnership with Ace Reader and you can practice everything that Iris teaches in speed reading with this software to support you, people bought that. And then at the point of purchase, when the upsell was there or the add-on to bundle, what happens is then people say, well, I can benefit from that. It's great to take this speed reading workshop, and then it would be great to also have this software to support me. Yes, they complemented each other really well. Co-host a webinar to both your audiences leveraging shared visibility, which is what I did as well with Iris Reading, and I did it with the individual I'm referring to here, the client that I got from my YouTube channel in 2013, pretty much right in the beginning. So that's why a person might think, I need to have a lot of views. I need to have a lot of subscribers in order to build a successful business. Yes and no. The answer is depends. While it is helpful, and it's volume when you get more views, provided that they're qualified direct to offers, that they're actually relatable to your offers, not just a whole bunch of views, but those that are targeted that can benefit qualified visitors, then yes, that could result in a significant amount of business. You can also get one client or a few clients that could result in a lot of business, provided that you structure your business to value ongoing business from existing clients in these ways mentioned. So another thing we did was co-host webinars, co-host events. The mastermind, for example, was a great one. We did a few of them where we spoke together at his mastermind, and I ended up acquiring clients and also brought him to speak, Paul, in some of we did videos on my channel as well where Paul spoke, and people got to know Iris Reading, and he benefited from that as well. Combine their distribution with your expertise. Offer your services to their network. Could be products, services. Again, products and services can be created by combining assets and relationships and opportunities. For example, you may have access to digital software that can be used as part of a deal, maybe a CRM software where you could use with another client for marketing and sales campaign, but they don't have access to that CRM. Their sales team can then use that CRM that you pay for so that they can process the leads, but you also have intangible assets. You have a way of nurturing leads. You have scripts, etc. You could provide it to their sales team, and they have a physical product that they want to sell. It could be a digital product that they're selling. It could be consulting, coaching services. You're bringing to the table digital software. You're bringing to the table intangible assets, which is your knowledge and expertise. You're also bringing a physical product, perhaps for selling, or they have a physical product, or you can not use a physical product, but let's say it's also an intangible asset that's being offered, which is the coaching and consulting. That's brought into the equation. And what is happening then is you're combining this expertise with these assets and offering them as a bundle or a package or a special service to their clients who would not get that service from that service provider who has access to those clients because they don't want to do it. But if they partner with you, you could provide that. And if you broker this whole deal, then you can get a vendor that will do that. I've done that a number of times as well. That is their physical, digital, intangible assets. You're just brokering the deal. So now this is very precise. Let's summarize. I went from $0 to $100,000 relatively quick without having, I think it was under 200 subscribers, by acquiring one client. And that client, this was my previous YouTube channel, which now is at 400,000, but that's the other one. I'll link in the description to it. It's another one. I still post content on there. I went to $100,000 relatively quick. You could do this as well by valuing a relationship with one client. By valuing it in this way, acknowledging that I have access to assets, physical, digital, intangible. I have access to relationships from my IT business, people I met, masterminds, etc. I have opportunities. They also have assets, physical, digital, intangible. They also have relationships. They also have opportunities. Yet they brought me in to provide a service, consulting service in their company, in his company. He brought me in. I provided that, built a relationship, and then we explored together how we can work further together, which resulted in ongoing business from the existing clients, from the examples, that was just some of them given earlier. It also resulted in me accessing their relationships, speaking in their mastermind, which then I acquired clients. I also got access to the relationships from those clients, so it continued to spread like a big tree. And then him having seen how wonderful we worked together, how much he benefited, how much the people that were in his mastermind benefited, that accelerated the referrals. He was starting to refer people to me right from the beginning because we were working really well together like this, and he was having a wonderful time, and it was what Napoleon Hill calls the pleasing personality. I genuinely love what I do, so we could say that was contagious. The love was there. He started referring business to me, they started referring business, and it continued to grow. And so this is where we then can apply this consistently and persistently all throughout in a fun way. Persistently doesn't mean force in this regard, fun, joyous. Creative orchestration of combining assets, relationships, and opportunities, yours, theirs, and those of their networks to generate more leads, acquire more clients, and form partnerships that lead to ongoing business with your clients, and their clients' relationships. I found that businesses were more likely to move forward with coaching and consulting, not necessarily always the case, if we can relate it directly to the revenue side. We can acquire more prospects for you. We can generate more leads for you. We can convert more clients. We can increase the amount the client invests at the point of sale. We can generate more ongoing business for you from existing clients. We can add more revenue streams. They were more likely to listen to those conversations. They were more likely to move forward with those deals and invest in those deals because they were focused on bringing in the money. And there was immediate return on investment, immediate results. Because if we tweak and adjust their client acquisition, if we bring in more leads, and if we can add more revenue sources, then quantifiably the results are there. They are there. And there's no denying those results. They're obviously there. And they will be happy then if you work that into a deal or later on, consider giving you a percentage on the profit. And what would happen is I would develop, and I didn't take a lot of these and turn them into formal case studies in documents. I can, if I go back to my records and my logs and my spreadsheets, etc., I can create case study. And I do have these references. I had actually, when I did a consulting deal in US, I was living in California from 2017, 18, I was there. I had glowing recommendation letters, which I brought to the border because when you go to the border and sign up for a TN visa in Canada, you bring a package there. And part of that package is the referral letters. I had referral letters from presidents of big companies that I brought into the interview. And so what ended up happening then is through doing this, you get case studies, testimonials, glowing people recommending you. You can then take these and go into businesses and you can acquire more business. And it's so focused and it's so precise. It's essentially revenue side. Let's look at the assets. Let's look at the physical, digital, intangible assets. Let's look at the relationships that you have. And let's focus on the opportunities that are on prospecting, lead generation, client acquisition, ongoing business with existing clients. And then creativity. Maybe we put in a funnel. Maybe we optimize your marketing. Maybe we bring in a sales team. We know someone that has access to a sales team. Maybe we'll leverage some event space and you could run the event there. You do the event, speak at the event. We're talking to a prospect. They get to speak at that event. We got the event space. Another person has the event space. We could just bring them so they can speak there. So in exchange for providing that event space, that is where your audience is. They're in California. They're in New York. You get to do that event downtown Manhattan. And they acquire clients. What do I ask for it? A small percentage in the deal. And now, having done that and generated more revenue for them practically, I might say, well, we've got some more marketing strategies that we can put in place. We got more sales strategies we can put in place. Again, I'm focusing very precise. You can, if you would like, focus on consulting, coaching, and applying this to the areas of innovation, sales, marketing, operations, finance, leadership. But as mentioned, what I found personally is that businesses would more likely move forward with the deal from my experience, and not necessarily the case with everyone, not to throw the bias in it. But if it was more on the side of generating more prospects, optimizing their prospecting, generating more leads, optimizing their leads, bringing in more leads, converting more leads and prospects into clients, bringing in more clients, or ongoing business with existing clients. And then from each case study to case study to case study, you just get so many deals, and it just compounds to the point where you end up saying, you know what, I'm not interested in doing that consulting deal. I'm not interested in doing it because you have a lot of deals going on. And you don't need to get more clients because you have a database of clients that you've been doing this with. And even if it's one, as mentioned with the example earlier, or a handful of this, you can generate a substantial revenue for yourself. And this is not something that I invented. This has been similar to this. I just consolidated in a way that I'm teaching it right now. But this is what I've met some consultants do that have generated also hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, millions of dollars, and they continue to do this. And they continue to do this, and it's, you could say, very easy and fun and effortless. They just don't have anyone to sit down with them and have these conversations with them. They don't have anyone to mastermind with them and have these conversations that are so precise like this and are so focused on the revenue enhancing side based on case studies, based on testimonials, based on actual proof, not theory and conjecture. None of this is theory and conjecture. They've just never had these kinds of opportunities to have these conversations. That became a great way of acquiring clients for me. What I would do was I would book a session with them. I call it exploratory sessions. I say, let's jump on. And sometimes they would pay for this too. I would charge for it. Sometimes it would be, I wouldn't charge for it because I would just want to have that conversation with them, because what we would do is we would flow chart their business and we would discover these various opportunities that were in their business. And I'd say, we can start with this. Let's start with this one. Although I could propose that we could do all these things for you, or 10 or 15 of them, let's start with one of them. And that would result in client acquisition. And let's say they paid for that strategy session, which we can call it exploratory conversation. That's what I refer to it in my book, the exploratory conversation, sales presentation, where sometimes you could even, they pay for that. So they pay for that consulting hour because they, we could say, want to know what it's like to work with you, plus they benefit from that consulting hour, plus it leads to ongoing business. I call this exploratory conversations in my new book that I'm releasing this weekend. Again, if you want to know about that, you can join my mailing list to get a copy of the mind map and also be notified of the book release. And I do cover some of these things in there. Now, they don't have anyone to have that conversation with, I find, or they don't have many people to have that kind of conversation. And very precisely, this kind of conversation that is so focused and value-oriented, they don't have people to have these kinds of conversations. So they just book a session with you. If you meet them on LinkedIn, or you meet them in a mastermind, or you meet them when you're out and about, or you go to events or via your social media, they just book a session with you to have this conversation with you because it's so focused and valuable and precise. You see? And that enough is enormously valuable to the point where, as I mentioned, I'm charging people. And I said, let's do a 1-hour session where we can explore how we can apply what we're talking about here in business, in your business. Let's talk about it. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I like creating these videos, because then I can send it to someone. And I used to do this with my videos on my other channel as well. I had to send it to people, and it pretty much articulated everything. So they watch a video like this and they say, Joseph, let's do that 1-hour session. So as a matter of fact, if you're interested in bringing me into your business so we can explore, we can do one of those 1-hour sessions. So what's happening on the 1-hour session is we mind map it or we flow chart it, and they see the opportunities. And they don't have to work with me. They could take what we discussed in that 1-hour session and they can bring their existing team in to implement it, or their vendors that they have. Or they could bring me in to implement or coordinate the implementation. And I ended up doing it. So you see how this is very powerful, and you could do this as well. Very precise and direct and to the point, no fluff. And this is real business building that is mutually beneficial and valuable for you, your clients, and the relationships they have access to. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.